Hello students, as we have seen mixture and compound in detail, so now let's see the difference between it. So first of all, mixture. Element or compound just mix together to form a mixture and no new compound is formed. So that can be considered as a mixture. Let me give you example. Suppose if you are mixing the iron rust with the sulfide or any other element, then it will going to mix with each other, but it will not going to react with each other and form a new compound until and unless it is not going to provide any external energy, right? And air. We can take the another example of mixture is air. So we all know that in the air there are so many components are mixed together, that is oxygen, nitrogen, carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, water vapor, dust particles, etc. Right? So these all the components are present in the air, but they are only a mixture. They are not going to react with each other and they are not going to form a new compound. So it can be considered as a mixture. While element react to form a new compound, then it can be considered as a compound. So example is water. In case of water, hydrogen and oxygen, two elements, react with each other and form a new compound, that is H2O, water, right? So that would be a difference between mixture and compound. A mixture has a variable composition. Like we have taken the example of air. So air having a variable composition. Like suppose if we are talking about nitrogen, then nitrogen is approximate 70 above percentage in the atmosphere, right? Carbon dioxide is 0.03% in the atmosphere. So it's having a variable composition, right? But in case of compound, the composition of each new substance is always fixed. Like we have taken the example of water. In case of water, the proportion is always fixed. That is 2 molecules of hydrogen and 1 molecule of oxygen. It would be always fixed. Then a mixture shows the properties of the constituent substance. It means in a mixture, whatever the element will be there, they will showing the individual property. Like air के अंदर क्या होगा? Oxygen, nitrogen, carbon dioxide, etc. So they all are showing their individual properties. While in case of compound, the new substance has totally different properties. So as we have taken the example of water, hydrogen and oxygen together make water. So hydrogen, it is in a gaseous form, while oxygen is a supporter of combustion. But while it make a new compound or a new substance, water, then its property is totally going to be changed. Like water we can use as a fire extinguisher, right? So its property is going to be totally changed in the compound. Next is the constituent can be separated fairly easily by physical method. In mixture, suppose if we are mixing wheats with bajra, then we can manually separate it, or by any physical method we can separate wheat and bajra. Separation can be takes place, right? Or separation can be done. But while in the case of compound, the constituent can be separated only by chemical or electrochemical reactions, not by any physical method. Like water, after water, hydrogen and oxygen going to react with each other and form a water. So that water cannot be separated by any physical method, and we cannot again get hydrogen and oxygen separately, right? उसको filter नहीं कर सकते, कोई भी physical method apply नहीं कर सकते, but it can be separated by any of the chemical or electrochemical reaction. So these are the differences between mixture and compound. Okay, now after seeing the difference between mixture and compound, now let's go through the overview or summary of this chapter. That we have seen that matter basically it is in the form of solid, liquid or gases. So matter basically can be classified into pure substance and mixture, right? So in a pure substance there is only a one kind of atom or a particle will be present. So it can be considered as the pure substance. So pure substance further classified into two types, that is elements and compound. So we have seen the difference between elements and compound. That we have seen element cannot be broken down into simpler substances, while the compound have the fixed composition can be broken down into element by chemical or electrochemical reactions. Then example of elements are copper, oxygen, iron, hydrogen, mercury, etc. While the examples of compound is water, methane, sugar, etc. Now if we are going to talk about the mixture, then there are, as we have seen, two types of mixture. One can be considered as a homogeneous and one can be considered as a heterogeneous. So basically homogeneous mixture having a uniform composition, while the heterogeneous mixture does not having the uniform composition, or we can say that it is a having non-uniform composition. Examples of homogeneous mixtures are sugar in water, salt in water, sulfur in carbon disulfide, water in alcohol. These are forming a homogeneous mixture in which you will not going to separate it, मतलब कि with a you are not having any separating boundary, right? It means suppose sugar we are going to dissolve in water, and then after if we are going to drink that water, then it will having the taste of sugar it everywhere, uniform composition, right? ऐसा नहीं होगा कि बॉटम में आपको मीठा ज़्यादा लग रहा है लेकिन अप साइड अगर आप अप साइड से पानी पी रहे हो तो आपको मीठा कम लग रहा है, ऐसा नहीं होता. Why? Because it's from a uniform composition. While in case of heterogeneous mixture, we can take the example is sand and salt, sugar and salt, water in oil. So the best example is water in oil. If you are going to take few drops of oil into the water, then you can see separate a distinction boundary between oil and water, because it will not going to be soluble in water, so it will have the separate boundary between them, and that is the reason it can be considered as the heterogeneous solution, or sorry, not solution, but it is considered as a heterogeneous mixture, right? Okay.